Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to Comsverse. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This session is called Working on Projects in Microsoft Teams, presented by Taryn Nixon. Taryn, the floor is yours. I think your mic is still muted.
Sorry, I've unmuted now. Thank you. As I was saying, hello everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. I'm going to take you through working on projects in Microsoft Teams. So before I begin, I just really want to say a really big thank you to all of the sponsors and organizers for making Converse happen today and in a virtual space all on Microsoft Teams. So I have to say, in this current climate, it really goes to show that you can work anywhere, anytime on the go using, the tools that I'm going to show you today, which is Teams. So a little bit of an introduction to myself. I'm Taryn Nixon, and I'm a business change and adoption consultant. I've recently formed a partnered consultancy called Humewood. So if you want to see what we do, or if you feel that you are in need of some kind of user adoption, maybe program management or project management, to the right-hand side, the Scan Me code will take you to the website. Previous to this, I've actually worked for a number of Microsoft partners, helping their clients to adopt, Microsoft technologies, and I've worked a lot in the Teams space. So this has also been working globally across clients and getting clients to adopt technologies to allow them to better work from home. So today's session is really about working on projects within Teams. And I'm going to give you my tips and tricks of how I've set up my Teams interface if I'm going to work on multiple clients and multiple projects, at the same time. Now, before we get started, or before you start a project, you want to decide that whether you actually need a team, or is it that you need a channel within a team. So what I tend to find is that users, when they're starting on new projects or they're getting started with Teams, they kind of tend to just set up a team after a team after a team. And then when you look like 2 years down the line, you just have a lot of teams in your interface. And what you want to kind of try to do is drive traffic down from Outlook to discover the new way of working, which is Microsoft Teams. So think about a project that you're working on and decide whether you need to create a whole new team. So the team is actually your workspace. This is where you're going to get things done. And the channel is the topic in relation to your particular workspace. So I'm going to give you an example of a project that I work on. I work a lot on Microsoft Team rollouts. So I've given you an example here. So if you look at the top, I have Project Mustang. And then within a project like this, the streams of work that myself and my team would work on would be perhaps a pilot phase. There may be a communications lead working on this project, stakeholder roadmap, training, digital champions, and so forth. So the team is called Project Mustang, or whatever the project is. And then the channels are the topics in relation to that. And each individual may work in a particular channel. Let's say I work in communications. I probably want to work across the communications channel, depending on which project or client I work on. Once you've decided whether you need the team or you actually just need to add a channel to a team, you want to consider setting it up nice and concise, because this really helps to drive consistency with your projects. Users know why they are there. It helps to facilitate better adoption. For example, if you're working in a team and you've got files and folders all over the place, what tends to happen is people get frustrated. They'll go back to Outlook. They'll find that document that they were looking for in Teams, and they'll email it to someone else. So what happens then is you start to have siloed conversations, some happening in Outlook, and then you have some happening in Teams, and things just kind of are all over the place. So Teams the documents become easier to find within teams and helps to speed up decision-making processes. If you all know where you are and you know how to find things and you're all working in a particular stream of work, I find that really helps when getting things done on projects. We, within Humid, we set up a team, whether it's with the clients or internal, and we kind of brief each other on how we're going to use our team so everyone knows, where to find things. So it's good for housekeeping to do it in that way. So we're going to look at the day in the life of a communications lead working on one of these projects. Cara is a comms lead at her company, and she's responsible for running all the awareness campaigns across all of the projects that we have. And so she's currently working on 3 separate projects. So I'm going to stop sharing my presentation, and you will see a pause in this demonstration. And then I'm just going to share my actual Teams interface. Just bear with me 1 second. There is a pause, but it should be popping up any minute now. So this is the Teams interface that I've set up across all of my projects. Looking to the left-hand side, I've got Project Mustang here. Then I'm working on a client. This is Client P. And I also have Project Phoenix. Once I've set up my team, I'm essentially the owner of that particular team. So once you've set this up and you've assigned your members and you've just, decided what you're going to call or name your channels, you want to first of all go to the settings of the project team. So I'm clicking on Project Phoenix, and then I'm just going to select Manage Team. And under here, you can see any of the pending requests and so forth. So moving on to the settings part, this is me being the owner of this particular team. I can then decide what my members want to do within my team. So team picture, an owner can change the team picture here, but it's really the member permissions that you want to have a look at. Do I want my members to be able to create and update channels, to create private channels? So personally for myself, I don't turn this option on because I don't want people to go off and start creating their own private channels. That's almost defeats the object of open collaboration within teams. So why might I want to have a private channel? Well, I'm working on this project. It's a global rollout, and there's a senior leadership team, a part of my project, who need to have private conversations, and they need to store private documents within that. So I'd probably create a private channel called SLT, add that as a channel, and then add those specific members to that particular team there. So I'm just going to leave that switched on for now. Now, do I want members to delete and restore channels? Probably not. So just have a look through here once you've got your team set up to allow the members to do, what it is you want with this team, whether you kind of want to police it or not. Guest permissions, this is really great. So if you're working with a client on a project to an end goal, you can allow, if you've enforced this policy into the admin of your teams, you can allow guests, meaning someone outside of my company can join and collaborate with me on this Project Phoenix project. So again, you can restrict those guest permissions. So people external to your company, you can decide whether they are allowed to create and update channels. As a default, that is actually switched off. And then you've got the general ones here. So mentioning the channel, I just leave all this stuff on. It's really good when someone mentions a team, it kind of broadcasts it to everyone, but you don't want your users to overuse it because it kind of starts to lose its meaning. So the guidance here is, for myself, I keep this switched on. However, I encourage people to only mention individuals on that team, because then if something is, if I'm mentioned on a team, I know that's, for myself. I can then go into my settings and have a look at how I want to set up my own notifications for this particular project. So I'm going to leave that there. That was the settings for Project Phoenix. You then have your settings for the channels and so forth. So under General here, I'm going to click on the 3 options, and you can go to manage this particular channel. So in the general channel, this asks me, can anyone post messages to this particular channel? General is a good one actually if you want only owners to post messages. This means you can broadcast information that can be static on that particular channel, and when users join the team, they can just see it straight away and they don't get to reply to it. But also you can use it just for company announcements or project announcements on the general channel. So we've had a look at creating the team. We've got our team here and we've got our streams of work for this particular team. And then we've got all our channels. And we had a look at the example of a communications lead that's working across multiple channels. So what you can do is, let's say I work in communications. I now have the comms channel here. And I just want to click on the three options and I can go to channel notifications. So I'm just going to select channel notifications, and I want to be notified about everything that happens in that particular channel on comms. So channel notifications and all my activity is switched on. Then I want to look at Client P because I'm the comms lead for this particular company and I'm working across 3 projects. So I can go to channel notifications here and then click that one on. And then I'm going to go to comms within Project Mustang and I'm going to switch that one on too. So clicking on that and switch it on here. So if there's a lot of noise, so to speak, going across your teams and activities popping up and you just want to dumb down the noise, you probably want to go to the channels and dial it down in terms of the notifications. So for example, if I don't work on training, I can click on that, go to the notifications and switch it off. And I can even go and hide this particular channel. And so I just don't see it. It kind of tucks neat and tidy underneath there where it's got one hidden channel. What you can then do if you're only working in channels across various teams, you can pin the channels to the top. So I'm going to pin all the communications to the top of my Teams interface. And this one I'm going to pin. And the third one I'm going to pin here. Is a bit slow. It's probably because I've been moving around quite a lot. Let me see if that's worked. Yes. So if we look at the top now, I've pinned 3 communication channels and I can see what project it's related to. So the blue one is Project Phoenix, purple is Client P, and the pink one is Project Mustang. And when you look at a particular channel, each channel gives you a number of options or items within a channel. Let me just go to Project Phoenix here. So this is the channel. The posts are seen as the emails, so to speak, or the posts. So that's where you can work with the comms team on this particular, stream of work. You then got the files area. So everyone knows if they're looking for, the communication plan on this particular project, they know to go to the communication channel, the files area, and all the files are there for the communication plan for this particular project. You then have next to this is the wiki. Now, you don't have to use the wiki. You can actually remove it or, edit it and so forth. A handy tip on the wiki is a bit of housekeeping. So I like to rename this README and save. So if anyone comes to the comms channel, they can see the README and I use this as housekeeping. So how to use this channel. And then you can add your items there. So 1 second, I always do this. Ensure all items are PDF. Oops. Before sending to clients and so forth. So that's a good tip on the wiki, but again, you can remove it if it's not relevant for your particular channel. Beyond that, you've got additional applications that you can actually add to your channel or each channel. So I'm just clicking on the plus sign here. And this is where you can add Planner, which is going to help you when working on projects within Teams. So I'm going to add a particular plan to the communications channel here. And I'm going to call this the comms plan. When I add a plan to a channel, let's say I work in communications, I probably want to just use this for the comms team and the tasks, and I'm going to hit save. But if you want to set tasks across the whole of the team, my recommendation is to add a plan under the general area of a particular project. So we're working in Project Phoenix here. I'm just going to go down to the general tab here. So I'm going to add tasks for everyone across the board. And at the top here, I've got all tasks. And I'm going to add buckets of tasks to this particular plan. So we've got pilot phase. So up here, it's called to do. I'm going to call this one pilot. And I'm going to add a new bucket, called communications. And so forth. I'll add one last one called digital champions. And under each bucket, I can then assign a task and allocate this to a team member. So the comms, I'm going to say create plan, set a due date for this particular task for next week, Monday, assign it to a team member, and then click on create, add task. Once that individual has a task assigned to them, so I've assigned this to Cara, I'm going to click, she can click on this task. She will get an email to Outlook to say a task has been assigned to her. She can then click on it and she can update the progress of this particular task here. So it's in the comms area. She can say that it's in progress, it's urgent, and so forth, and the date that she started, or you can push the task back like so. Once you close it down, it automatically saves. So I'm just going to add a few tasks here and show you what that looks like on a plan. So digital champions, we'll do a champion briefing session. So if you hit enter, it just starts to assign tasks. We're going to assign roles and responsibilities to champions. Create comms, and so forth. We've got a few tasks here. I'm going to assign one more. This one I can assign. You can assign it to multiple people on your particular project, and you can assign them to yourself too. So this is a plan. So think of this as like your Kanban, so to speak, when working on projects. So at the top here, we've got the board. We can then look at the charts, and we can have a look at what's not started, what's in progress, what's late, and what's completed. And at the bottom here, you can also have a look at the completed tasks there and so forth. But what if I'm working across 4 different projects and 4 different plans? Well, this is why Office 365 is core in Microsoft Teams. If you look to the top right-hand corner here, the little world sign, this says go to website. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to take me into Planner within Office 365, and it's going to show me all my plans across all of my teams. So at the top here, I've got PP, which is Project Phoenix. So I know this is the plan for Project Phoenix. But at the bottom here, we've got PM to the left. And that one is, I know that is Project Mustang. That's another project that we have. And we also have a guest here on this particular project, which, you know, has a task has been assigned to this external participant. So then I can work across all of my plans, but I can actually go one step further. And instead of having to go from Teams into Planner, I can pull this plan into my Outlook calendar. So at the top here, you've got the board, chart, schedule. If you click on the 3 options there, it shows you, the members of this particular plan. It links you back into Microsoft Teams. You can export your plan to Excel. So maybe you have to present this to some key stakeholders about what's coming up and so forth. But you can actually, at the bottom here, add the plan to your Outlook calendar. I want to publish this plan and then select Add to Outlook. And so what it does is it adds an additional calendar to Outlook. So this is called Planner Task List. I can actually name it, you know, the project. I can't remember which one it was, so I'm just going to say Project Mustang Tasks. Give it a nice little icon and select Import. And so it says it's successfully been imported. And I click on Close. And at the bottom here under Project Mustang, that's my plan, and all my tasks will view at the top here. So I believe I set some deadlines for that one next week or the week after, but they do show up here. It is there, I just can't remember which date I've added them to, but all your tasks within your plan will pop up in your calendar here too. So now we've got our team set up, the channels are set up efficiently, everyone knows what they're doing, they've been assigned multiple tasks. We're now going to look at, let me just go back into Teams. We're going to look at having meetings in relation to this particular project. So you can either do it in two ways. Number one, you're going to go back to Outlook and you're going to select and create a daily stand-up or a weekly stand-up on your particular projects. Or a tip that I do is I actually create a channel called Stand Up. So under Project Phoenix, I'm going to add a new channel. Let's say this is, I'm going to call this Weekly Stand Up because if you saw in my calendar, I actually had a daily one, so it's going to confuse you for the demo. So Weekly Stand Up, this is the channel that I'm going to add. And if you look, I've got one here, actually under Climb P, I've got Stand Up there. So what I did was I created a stand-up channel. I'm going to go to Weekly Stand-Up on this one. And I want to create a meeting invite in this particular channel. So at the bottom here, where is it gone? I should have my calendar here. There we go. So it's actually the Meet Now channel icon, apologies. So when I click on this, I'm going to call it Weekly Stand-Up. And then I want to schedule this particular meeting. So I don't need to add the required attendees because the people that I've added to my team already have access to this channel. And you can see here I've created it in the channel called Project Phoenix Weekly Stand Up. I'm going to have this recurring. I want this to be every weekly, apologies. And it's going to start every Tuesday and give it an end date and so forth. So let's have this at midday, just before midday we'll choose for half an hour. And then what you do is you click on send. So if I look into my calendar now, there's a weekly stand up there. And then I go into the calendar. I hope this has worked. There it is there. So the weekly stand-up has automatically gone into my calendar because I'm a part of that team. The users will see in their calendar, they will see an option to accept that meeting invite into the calendar. And so then you can start to have your daily stand-ups on your projects, look at your plans and allocate tasks and look at all the project deadlines and so forth. Why do I want to add a channel called Stand Up? It really is a personal preference of how you want to use it. So do you either just want to go to Outlook and send out an invite, or do you want to go to your calendar and select everyone from that team individually to be included on the calendar invite, or just do it directly on the team, because then everyone gets access to that meeting and then they can host it on there. The other benefit of this is actually that when people are on these stand-ups, you can record them. They go into stream, but then you can also find the recording in the channel. So any information that you have on any projects or any notes that you're doing, any meetings that you have, keep it in the channel called Stand Up, so it's all, you know, nice, neat and tidy in one place. Because as we know with Teams and having meetings, when you have a meeting, and you facilitate that meeting, so it's called, Project Mustang Updates, then you get a conversation area for that particular meeting, and it becomes a chat within your team interface to the left-hand side. But then if you create another meeting, then you're going to have another meeting and so forth. So I just like to keep it nice and neat and tidy in this particular way. All right, so that really brings us to it was a bit of a quick intro session in terms of how to project manage, but I wanted to give you my top tips on how I work within teams and in projects. So keep it tidy, consider your channels, map out your team before you start a project. So let's say you're working on, like I do, a Microsoft rollout. Think about what sits above that project. So is it a program piece of work? So if it's a program piece of work, maybe you need a team per particular project. But I wouldn't say, for Project Mustang, for example, set up a whole team called communications. You would just need a channel for that. So I want to thank you everyone for your time. If you have any questions, do reach out or ask on the Q&A. And I hope you enjoyed today's session and see you on another one soon. Over to you, Johan.
Thank you very much, Darian. Really great session. Currently, we do not have any questions in the Q&A. So maybe we'll wait just a little bit, and I'll post a link to the breakout session as well, and for you to answer the session feedback.
Perfect.
So I posted the link for the post-session breakout, and now I'll post the survey. There's one question coming in. Well, it's not a real question. It's thanks for the session. So that's a nice one.
Thank you. Thanks. I hope you guys find it useful.
So no more questions. So I think it's time for you to go to the breakout session in case people want to meet personally. So I think we can end the session here, and
all right,
we could speak to you later.
Okay, thanks everyone. I will see you on the breakout if you want to ask me any other questions. Take care. Bye.